Hello everyone, MFPallytime here. Welcome back to Subnautica. I hope you guys are doing well today. A lot has changed since the last episode. I sat down at about 9 in the morning today, ready to play some Subnautica, ready to get tonight's video ready. And it's 4 p.m. right now, and I'm just kind of getting to the point where I'm somewhat happy with the work that I've done today. I wanted to make a video called Work Smarter, Not Harder, and in the process ended up working really, really hard. Let me show you how all this began, and then I can start to explain how everything has started to change. In the last few videos, we've had a lot of really big crafting operations going on, and our supply of materials has just slowly dwindled over time. So today I wanted to figure out a method of restocking our base in the most easy way possible. At least that was the intention. So I went to our scanning room, I started looking for these limestone chunks, and the longer this thing scans, the more of an area it covers, and I was running into some problems already. Our base was still running out of electricity intermittently depending on what our power needs were. So I wasn't really able to do too much with this because every time it started to actually pop up some things and I could go check it out, the power would cut out. So that was one problem we needed to solve. The other problem we needed to solve is how do I actually go from looking at this map to then going outside and picking up these materials? Both of these problems are solved with one mineral in this game, and that is magnetite. With magnetite, we can make a scanner room HUD chip, and this streams the data from scanner rooms directly to our HUD. So if I could make this, I could then gather all of these easier. And if I could get enough magnetite, I could then make some thermal plants to give a constant stream of electricity to our base so we wouldn't have to worry about our power needs ever again. Sounds like a pretty simple premise, but it got really, really weird along the way. Magnetite comes from the jelly mushroom biome. We've spent a little time in here before. It should look familiar to you guys. It has these long boys in here that used to stress me out. I gotta say, since I have the stasis rifle, I feel a lot more confident exploring areas like this. But upon the ground in here, every now and then there's a big node of lithium, a big node of gold across from it, but you can find small pieces of magnetite that you can gather up. This is one right here. So I took that magnetite, I turned it into that heads-up display scanner attachment, and then I started farming materials for quite a long time. When you equip this scanner room HUD, you're completely overwhelmed with information. At least with what I was scanning, my entire screen was suddenly taken up with a ton of icons. This is only beginning. And the longer this thing scanned, the more these showed up. Literally, I could turn to the right and I saw nothing but circles. Then turn to the left and saw nothing but circles. And I just kept gathering and gathering and gathering. I probably spent 2 hours today just knocking away pieces of limestone, pieces of sandstone, and gathering up materials. I ended up being able to restock all 3 of these chests with a large amount of titanium. Most of these are still full from that titanium. I have an overflow of copper that's starting to go down the hall, copper 1, copper 2, and then lead 2 and silver 2. But really what I was after was a large amount of gold, of which I don't have much to show for still, but I'll show you what I did with it. With the magnetite we found, I started to make these thermal generators. They use the heat from these geysers, and then I used the gold to make relays like this and I channeled the electricity up out of this cave through some relays. Whew, that was loud. Back out to the surface, or I guess back up to the shallows out of this jelly mushroom biome. Each one of these blue beams is electricity coming from the geysers, the geothermal eruptions, and then heading back towards our base to power it. We're no longer using the biofuel generator. We're no longer using the solar panels. Everything that's being powered in our base is being powered by a kind of a network of those thermal generators. Now, this is where things started to become a little bit of an issue. I had all these materials, and I wanted to make a network, basically an electrical grid, that I could then use to power more scanners and more bases. It was a good idea, but I need to show you where I went wrong, because it went very, very wrong. I knew I was going to need large amounts of magnetite, and I knew I was going to need large amounts of gold. And I just so happened to see some pretty big clusters of the stuff down in the jelly mushroom biome. I made an attachment for our prawn suit, which is a little difficult for me to show you right now, but it's essentially a drill arm that I can extend forward that will then break down these large chunks of minerals. I also found out while I was in this thing that these eels don't even bother you like a little bit. If you can't fit in their mouth, I guess they lose interest. But I actually used our heads-up display to scan for gold and to scan for magnetite, and that helped me find these big chunks like this. You just, you shove it in and it starts to break apart the material. It was super easy to farm, and really I should have done this before I even did any of, I should have done this before I even did any of the searching above. Hey! Keep it down! There's even like big chunks of silver down here. This place has a ton of really good resources. I was able to farm up enough magnetite to build about half of these, but I was able to farm up enough gold to connect a lot of them along not only the original daisy chain that we started, but I also tried to make basically a circuit here. I built a circle of these power transmitters, and you can see how like the lines are attaching. This is where I started to run into problems, because I would build one here, and then I would go over here and I would build one here, and it looks fine because if you construct these, this beam will connect to all of them. So I thought I was distributing the energy out in each direction. So not only was my base powered, but I thought I could send that electricity other places. This was where I was wrong, and it took me a few hours of testing, trying to make different circuits, getting visual bugs as well, until I realized what exactly was going on with these. So the power line can run in one direction, and that is it. Once it connects to a building, that's where it stops. I even had power transmitters on my building back when I still had solar panels. So it looked like the electricity was being gathered from my base again and then being sent out. So I went through probably 100+ pieces of gold going along the ocean floor here. I need to go get some water, but I built some stuff over in this direction, and I'll show you what it is. By equipping my scanner HUD chip and then sailing away from the scanner room, which is camera 4, I realized that these scanner rooms have about 490 meters of range. So, my great idea, and I do think it is a good idea, was to try to make a bigger area that I could scan for different materials. So I went to 490 meters out. And as you can see, once I get a little too far away, all of those icons that I was looking for, and I'm actually out of range of the second scanner base. If I get closer, we should see even more markers. Yeah, there they are. Oh, yeah. Once I get 490 meters away, this place will fade. So I wanted to set up future scanners to help me scour a larger area. So about 700 meters out, I set up another scanning facility. But I was planning on powering it with that same not nuclear, but thermal power generator setup that we had over here. The main issue we ran into was it looking as though both directions were powered when in reality they were not. It seemed like only one place could be powered at a time. And it was a lot of testing. Like, I would think I had one building working. I would go underneath, try to branch it out. What is running into me? Stupid ass biter, you can't get through, dude. I'm made out of metal. So like I had a system and they were all running that direction and it would look powered, but the other building still had blue lines going towards it, but it was unpowered because the connection was now going this way instead. It was very frustrating. I hope I explained that well. However, to get over the frustration, what I decided to do instead was to set up these solar power foundations and then run the power down with these transmitters. These transmitters, by the way, are just one titanium, one gold. So the gold is the hardest part to get for them. But I just set up a bed of solar panels. They feed into the transmitter. The transmitter runs down to this secondary scanning base, which is out of range of our first base. And let's say that I really needed to find more sandstone. Well, instead of looking for that, we can set sandstone up. And now the two circles, one emitting from here and one emitting from our main base, kind of overlap, and we should be able to find all of the sandstone in the area, which is great for finding gold, or you could search for gold directly. You get what I mean. You can search for anything that you want. But at this point, I still thought I could get the network to work, so I kept going. We're still heading southwest from our original base location. We're over 1,000 meters away at this point. This is about the same area that LifePod 19 was found in. And in this particular area, there's these slime gels, I think they're called, and the rubies that you combine to make aerogel. So I ran those transmitters along the ocean floor this entire way. We just came from camera 5. Our original base is camera 4. Every 50 meters, every 100 meters, whatever it is, I put a new transistor down. I connected it to this base and it powered up. But what I didn't know is that the thermal plant then cut power to the base before it, and the thermal plant had already cut power away from our original base. So I ran power lines all the way out here for absolutely nothing. It really sucked when I figured all that out, dude. It was so much work getting that done. But because it didn't work, I needed another solution. So we're doing the same kind of thing as before, just augmented a little different this time. We have some foundations in our base, giving it structural integrity, and then we're sticking a tube up pretty high into the water that connects to a transistor that then connects to the floating island, which for some reason I could slap on some solar panels and foundations to. Those are getting really good sunlight. And then I'm sending that electricity down deep into the ocean down here. So this place is scanning for all the materials I need to make aerogel. which I still thought I could get the network to work, so I went back and I used that aerogel to make even more thermal generators down there, but basically my main base will never run out of power ever because it has more thermal generation than I could ever use in a lifetime, I'm pretty sure. But then these bases have just enough electricity to support the lights, to support the scanning room, and then they don't really do much else. And they're helping us search for difficult to find materials in the area. See, I thought way more rubies were going to be over here, but as you might be able to tell, there's only a few. And these scanners have been running for quite some time. And I'm also over here looking for gel sacks, and I'm only noticing one here as well. So this biome, we potentially could be looking for something even more rare, like these uranite crystals or something. All in all, it took me 6 hours of playing and trial and error and exploration and a lot of gathering and a lot of swimming and a lot of putting transistors down that looked like they were working, they looked like they were powered, when in fact they weren't powered, and then swimming the ocean floor one direction, swimming the ocean floor back to clean up the mess that I had made. Oh. I also plan, this is the midpoint, this is the second scanner base. I also plan on adding a second scanner room onto this one so it can just search. But these should cover about a 500 meter area around them, and that one should cover a 500 meter area around it, and that one over there covers a 500 meter area around it. So these circles are overlapping just a little bit. But I think that's totally fine if we're really thoroughly trying to look for a material. So unfortunately, my electrical grid idea didn't work out for me. But hey, maybe this video will spark someone to come up with a better solution for it. Maybe this video will stop you from going down the same train of thought and making the same mistake I did. To be totally honest with you, I'm not even sure all of my thermal generators are actually feeding power into my base. I don't know how much power each of them is supposed to give, but they keep this place pretty well powered. Oh, we also did a little bit of crafting on Cyclops. Adding a ton of storage that I have not used at all. Once again, I found most of this titanium using those limestone deposits that our scanner was picking up. They were just all over the place, and I was just swimming around like crazy. Added in some planters. I was actually going to stop by the island earlier today just to add some food onto this thing. But I got totally sidetracked with my other plan. Its power cells are pretty charged, the engine's off. It can also charge other power cells with the power of 6 power cells. I didn't know if that would be worth it or not. But yeah, I know today was a weird episode. Like I said, I really was dedicated to this concept of giving power to all of the land. And unfortunately had some drawbacks, but sometimes, you know, that's how it goes. I did see some comments of people telling me that I missed a PDA down in the mushroom biome that we were just in, and apparently it's a pretty important one. And I know that we have that radio message still waiting, still sitting there. We're gonna tackle both of those in the next episode. Until then, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned a life lesson or something. I don't know. I'll see you guys again soon.